Welcome to another episode of The Supper Club. The Supper Club brought to you by Kuna Food Service, a family-owned tradition since 1918. The Pasta House Company Restaurants. Lordo's Diamonds, your family jeweler for life. Oliva on the Hill. Barquette Realty, imagination, renovation, and design. And Fresta Limoncello. Keep sipping, my friends. Welcome back to the Supper Club and part 2 of Don Ross and the Enterprise Rent-A-Car story. Yeah, so I want to go back. You're talking about opening up in all these markets, but in 1971, you were tapped, along with 2 other gentlemen, to expand outside of St. Louis, Missouri. You went to Kansas City, someone else went to Orlando, and someone else went down to Atlanta. How did that happen? Who were the other 2 gentlemen that went to the other cities? Explain that whole leap of faith, because it really was. I mean, you were leaving quite pretty far away from your epicenter,
right,
into totally different markets. How did that? Explain how that all went down and why maybe he picked the 3 of you guys out of what, 8?
Well, it wasn't a pick. He basically sat us down. There were 5 of us that were running offices here in St. Louis. I was running the South Kings Highway office at Christie and Kings Highway. One of the other guys was downtown on Jefferson and Market. One was in North County on Jennings and Florissant, where Jennings Road and Florissant. One was in Clayton on Ladue Road, where we still are today.
Sure.
And the other one was out off of Manchester in De Pere before they cut in a highway exit area. And so, but we were the 5 operators, and basically sat us down and our CFO and our sales manager and said, I may have been the youngest of the group, but we were all in our 20s, maybe 30s, and said, we think that the model that we have here could maybe work in other markets. We'd like to try it and see. I'm also concerned that how do I keep you all interested? You're a young group, and I'd be willing to do something to help get you started in a new market and basically have it be your territory. And so one guy, Don Nations, went to Atlanta.
Okay.
Bob Bell went to Orlando.
Okay.
They both did not stay long after they were there. And then I went to Kansas City, and it was a difficult decision for my family. By that time, I was married. We had 3 children.
Sure.
The oldest was 3, so they were like triplets. And opening a new business, you got a lot of time spent. On Sundays we'd drive around and look for locations. I'd throw the kids in the back of the car, or somebody would lose their keys, and Nancy'd be out doing something with friends. So I'd throw them in her pajamas in the car, go to the office, get an extra set of keys, go and meet the customer who needed it. But whatever you have to do to build a business, it was what you did. And it was an amazing opportunity to start a new business, even though it was a business that I knew. So I went back to...
It was your baby.
Yeah, I went back to our roots. I let the phone ring 2 or 3 times before I answered. And the good news was with Kansas City, because it was not that far from St. Louis, there was a lot of overflow with people that had been
People recognized the E.
More so than
the
Orlando.
Company. Sure.
Orlando Disney had just opened up down there. And Atlanta was really humming, and then it kind of tanked. So I was really fortunate. Felt like I'd be there the rest of my life. Made great friends there. Still have great friends there. But it was an amazing experience, and working with Jack was incredible. One story I've told a number of times is every Tuesday we'd have a call, and just to go through the prior week and any questions they might have. And Jack brought up a deal. He and our CFO Warren Knapp brought up a deal that I had just done with a guy on a new GMC Suburban, and our Chevrolet Suburban, and we didn't have a calculated rate for it, so I had to look at one of the things with leasing, you look at the acquisition cost, but you look at what the residual will be, and that's
Sure.
what the depreciation that you have to figure out over a 2 or 3 year period of time. Calculate what the taxes will be, calculate what the money cost will be, and then the other things that you're providing to the customer, and then put in a G&A or a profit margin. And so I made the deal, and they delivered the car, and the guy owned several grocery stores in the Kansas City area. And Jack said, we're trying to figure out this rate that you did, and, what happened? And I said, I don't know, let me take a look at it. And I'm going through looking, because we didn't have computers then, we had Olivetti, Underwood Olivetti, I think was the name, adding machines.
Yeah,
So
right. Oh,
yeah,
boy.
so I said, I see what happened here. I left out the money cost. When I said, I can call the guy, know him, he'll understand, he's a business guy, he'll figure it. Jack said, no. He said, we made a deal. We're stick with it. Just
Okay.
we got to make sure that next time. And I said, okay. I said, Jack, I want to make this right. He said, Don, this is one out of hundreds. Don't worry about it. We're going to be fine. So I went on about my business. Later that afternoon, I get a call from him, and he said, hey, I want to talk to you. And I said, what's up? And he said, Don, I just want you to know how much I appreciate your honesty. He said, we had a similar situation in one of the other markets, and it took us 2 days to finally get to. We sort of figured that's what had happened, but we wanted to be sure. And the fact that you immediately told us what was going on gave us confidence that you're being straightforward. Because when you're that far away, you're relying on
Sure.
and I mean, it was a great lesson for me. But
Yeah.
but and it was for
Always tell the truth.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I would share. I shared that story so many times, and have used it myself with men and women that worked for me over the years. Where if you're honest, we're going to figure it out
And take ownership of it.
Yeah. Don't try to point fingers at other
Right,
people
right.
or try.
Well, you were it.
Yeah,
You were in
exactly.
Kansas City,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
You were on an island. But how did that happen? How did that work? Did he give you a budget to work with when you
So we both we
sallied forth out there?
Basically, he put together for the early pioneers a model similar to the one that he had with Mr. Lindbergh.
Okay.
And so we both the company put in 75%
Okay.
of the startup. I put in 25%.
Oh, wow.
And I got in addition to getting the traditional commission, Enterprise is a true meritocracy.
Mm-hmm.
And within a year or two, you're with the company, you're getting paid off the bottom line at some percentage. And so we want you to feel like you own this.
Sure.
There's certain things that you can control. There's certain things that we would control at the corporate level.
Sure.
So that was always there, but he also gave me a little ownership in the Kansas City operation.
Sure.
Later, that rolled up into to one company because I wouldn't call it a franchise, but I would say it's similar to a franchise model.
Sure. And then how was it different? Obviously, you had the Atlanta location, Kansas City, but Orlando was a totally different animal with it being with Disney World, mostly vacationers with kids and all that kind of thing. It had to be two different, maybe slightly different business models you had to work
Early
off
on,
of.
Early on, it was not. We really tried
was
to
the
focus
same.
on the local market. In fact,
Even though the customers were different.
well, the customers weren't. Orlando, the local market was growing just like Disney was growing. So all
Okay.
the workers and the support companies that were supporting Disney, all of those people now were moving to Orlando as residents. So our competitors were all focusing on the deplaning passenger.
Yeah.
We didn't do that. We focused. Now, what would happen is I'd have a customer in Kansas City that was flying down, so I would have to call my buddy and say, hey, Joe Frust is coming down with his family. He's going to need a
Yeah.
car for a week. Will you take care of him? And so we would do it to the
Yeah,
point where
yeah.
Jack said, you know what, I was back in St. Louis by then. It was 1980. He said, Don, we got too much of that going on with people calling their buddy who's running the office in another city to get a car for their friend. We needed some kind of an 800 number. So that was when we created our first 800 number. My secretary and another guy were the receivers of the calls. So, because it was small. And what we did is we said, we don't want the general managers or the vice presidents of all these different markets calling their counterpart and working a deal.
Yeah.
Just call in here. They've got a rate book for all of that stuff. So we dabbled in it, but main focus was always the local market.
Local market.
Yeah.
Right, right. And then how long were you in Kansas City?
8 years. We were there from 72
wow.
until 80. And
So you really put down some roots there.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
making
Oh,
friends.
yeah, yeah,
Nancy's
yeah.
making friends. The kids are in school they've got buddies in grade school and whatnot.
By that time, they were
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
sure.
6th and 7th grade, or 5th and 6th grade, I guess.
Sure.
I was president of the Overland Park Chamber of Commerce. I was president of the Business Association. So
Oh, boy.
I was engaging.
You really had some roots.
Well, I wanted to get into, because
Yeah.
we had a leasing business and a rent-a-car business. We were still very much in the leasing business. We didn't change our name to Rent-A-Car until, gosh, I'm going to guess the early 90s. So
Oh,
we were
really?
our enterprise leasing, and again, Jack Taylor, who, the founder, and usually when you have the founder of anything, they want to keep what they created.
Sure.
He said, why are we calling ourselves leasing? Most of our business is Rent-A-Car. Most of our
Right.
locations are Rent-A-Car. Those signs should say Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And we said, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
So we changed the signage to
Okay, boss.
Yeah, because people drive into a strip shopping center where you might have an office and it's say Enterprise Leasing, and they think, oh no, I'm looking for the Rent-A-Car place. Well, that was the Rent-A-Car place, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
didn't lease cars there.
Sure.
But he was amazing when it came to that. He whatever was the right thing to do for the business, that was what we had to do.
That's what he did.
Yeah, and right thing for the customer. Right, customer. I mean, it sounds cliche now because everybody says this, but the day one going to work there, it was about do the right thing for the customer, do the right thing for the team that you work with every day. Look for ways to grow. We want to grow, definitely want to grow, and the bottom line will take care of itself. I'm not saying to you guys, I need X or I need Y. I just want, if you do these other things right, this will be okay. And he was right.
Hence the tagline, we'll pick you up.
Yeah, and then
That's the ultimate in customer service.
Yeah, and we would do it anytime the customer, and sometimes it would be a challenge because we would have a lot at one time, but we'd always work with the customer in a way that made it comfortable for them.
Yeah. And then now you're there. So Jack, I'm assuming it was Jack that called you and said, hey, we need you back in St. Louis
So
now.
actually,
how did that go down?
Andy called me.
Oh,
his
Andy
son.
called you now.
Yeah, and
Okay.
and he said, Jack and I want to have lunch with you, and I said, okay. What do you want? They said, we're coming up today. So they flew over
Okay.
to Kansas City. We had lunch, and Jack said, Andy's going to take over as president of the company.
Oh, wow.
And we think that we can really make this go. He's ready for it. He's up for it. And he would like for you to come back to St. Louis and help grow the business because we don't have anybody back there who's walked in the shoes of these people that are going out and opening up these markets. So I said, wow. I said, I need to talk to Nancy, but I'm sure she'll jump out of her skin because she was so challenged when we moved there. Well, just the opposite. She had made so many friends, she didn't want to move back. I said, no, wait a minute. You got to make up your mind here. So, but we worked out. So we came back and we talked about it. And because we Enterprise is promote from within commitment to try to give men
Sure.
and women that are part of the company the first opportunity. And Andy and I used to go out on road trips and talk to our existing workforce, and Doug Brown as well, and would do the same thing. We made a list of all of the markets that we thought we needed to be in the United States.
Sure.
And so we would show it to them and say, look, these are markets we want to be in. There's no time frame. The time frame is going to be is when we have men and women that are part of the company ready to go. We're not going to go out and hire people from the competitors. We're not going to go out and hire people and put them into those spots. We want to do it from within, people that have had 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years, whatever the experience level is with Enterprise. But they have had numbers that show that their operation meets or exceeds customer satisfaction. We measured customer satisfaction.
Sure.
Not as sophisticatedly as we do today, but we measured customer satisfaction. And your boss has to be willing to recommend you. And of course, people where they grew up or where they went to school or maybe where they vacationed, which was usually a bad choice, where it was a place that you vacation, that they knew what we wanted to do. And it was just amazing. When I moved back in 1980 and Andy took the reins and Doug Brown had been there and was helping to grow the business as well, we went in 1983, we had 50 offices in 80. In 83, we had 100 offices. in '84 we had doubled to 200 offices because of this openness. Made some mistakes, put some people in spots that we had to fix later, but we started doubling the business every 2 or 3 years in the number of locations, and it was just amazing. It grew to 1,000 offices in probably 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
You know, from 50.
Amazing.
And it had coverage pretty much everywhere in the United States, and eventually, now we ended it. They probably have just under 10,000 offices now, and right around 90,000 employees. So it's and that's just in that's worldwide. That would be worldwide, 10,000 offices and about 100,000 employees.
It's amazing.
Just amazing. And all of them, there were a few where we had to tap them on the shoulder and say, we think you're the right person. But for the most part, it's not strictly volunteering. I want to go there. I want to do this.
And that's what determined whether you went to another market. Someone had to be ready
Somebody
to go.
had to say, I really would like to go there.
That was the order in which it would happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, we need to go over here, but so now we got to go find someone to go there.
Now,
it was the opposite.
There may be where there were 2 or 3 that came forward, and one of those might be one where we thought we had to be. That might get priority, but we would not force somebody necessarily in there. We would, and a lot of the times, if the manager running the entire city was doing the right thing, if you had an office that grew to 200 or 300 rent-a-cars, which was really hard to manage, you'd open up a second office not too far away. You'd have 150 in each, but they'd grow to 200 quickly. So that became, it was not only new markets, but it was existing markets growing because the name and the reputation and the coverage was there.
Amazing story. We're just getting into it, really. But we'll be right back after these messages with Don Ross. This is the Supper Club, brought to you by Kuna Food Service.
Kuna Food Service, providing quality food to people across the Midwest, is part of our rich history at Kuna, because food brings people together. We specialize in having a large variety of food products and food supplies, catering to an array of businesses that turn to us. Kuna Food Service, a family-owned tradition since 1918. Oliva on the Hill. It's Italy in the city. With exquisite old-world charm, this ideal setting is perfect for your next special event, wedding, just having lunch, or enjoying Wine Down Wednesday and the Antique Market. Check it out, olivaonthehill.com. Lordo's Diamonds, your family's jeweler for life. Family owned and operated for over 70 years, specializing in engagement rings, fashion jewelry, gemstones, and in-house jewelry repair. Relaxed, friendly atmosphere, competitive pricing, and a selection second to none. Conveniently located just west of the Galleria on Clayton Road. Lordo's Diamonds, your family's jeweler for life. LordosDiamonds.com. Joe Fresta for Fresta Limoncello. My handcrafted small batch citrus liqueur is perfect for sipping or pouring in a cocktail. All natural, gluten-free, Fresta Limoncello is sold at Schnucks, Dierberg's, Straub's, Total Wine, and local restaurants. Fresta Limoncello. Keep sipping, my friends.
Welcome back to the Supper Club. I'm Joe Fresta, brought to you by Kuna Food Service. We're here with Don Ross with the Enterprise Rent-A-Car story. And I want to ask you, get right back into it. Andy is now CEO. You work for both gentlemen. How were they the same and how were they different in their management styles or leadership styles?
Well, the similarity was the overall.
Probably a lot of similarities.
Yeah, a lot of and it was the core of now they have all kinds of different ways to describe it, but basically the commitment. Well, of course, Andy grew up observing all of this and recognized what was really working and what the customer focused piece. He was part of creating something we called ESQI, the Enterprise Service Quality Index. We now have expanded that into not just Enterprise, but National Rent-A-Car and Alamo Rent-A-Car, 2 acquisitions we made.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that too, but go ahead.
But so that they are a real example of why it works so well. But basically, it measures the customer satisfaction, and the only number we want is completely satisfied. And so today, I'm not current, but it has always run close to 90% or better.
Wow.
And the next level down, satisfied, usually makes up the other 8 or 9%. There's always been 1% where something we screwed up and it didn't work out, so they're not as satisfied. But to demonstrate that, we provide a financial statement to our offices, each one of the offices, every month. They get a statement, shows them what the cost per car was for depreciation and interest and maintenance and all that, and it shows their profitability, or if they are profitable.
Wow.
If it doesn't, if it's a loss, it shows. But right next to it is the ESQI, the quality customer service quality number, so they can see that, and it subliminally says, yeah, profits are important, but customer service is important too. And so Andy not only continued what his dad had created, but reinforced it
Sure.
by doing things like that. The same thing is true with the customer, with our employees. So he visible out there, wanting to make sure that they understand the commitment to promoting and growing from within. Specialty spots like legal or the marketing, we might bring in somebody that brings a different view, or because you worry about getting too inbred, where
Sure.
you grow
Yeah.
up together, so you start thinking the same way.
Same.
So having sometimes an outside,
Some new ideas, freshen things up a little
it
bit,
doesn't
different
hurt.
perspective.
And Andy was very comfortable but had a style of being able to manage that. Jack was engaged, but he was not a dig in layers and
Yeah.
Andy was more process driven, and we needed it to get to be that big.
Yeah.
You couldn't just have everybody. We very much wanted to stay decentralized and let the local operations make decisions, and also to give us feedback on opportunities that we may be missing. But at the same time, we wanted to be thoughtful about certain guidelines, and so we started creating things that under Andy's leadership that made sure that they stayed. If they could be going down the highway 100 miles an hour, but there were bumpers on both sides,
Sure.
and he helped to create those bumpers. And
Yeah.
At the timing, as I said earlier, they would tell you they were both born at the right time. And now, what's amazing, Andy stepped down as
Sure.
CEO, and his daughter Chrissy now is
Chrissy.
third generation.
Yeah.
We did early on. Andy and I met a guy by the name of John Ward. Andy really focused in with John. John was at Northwestern University and was an expert in family businesses.
Yeah.
And showed us the number of family businesses that have a hard time making it from the first generation to the
Succession.
second
Yep.
generation.
Yep.
And the odds on going to the third generation are even harder.
Right.
But the Taylors have been able to manage that in a way that would be textbook as far as getting it and making sure that it lives
Yeah.
into perpetuity. And I think a part of it is it's not just Jack and Andy and Chrissy, but it's Joanne, Andy's sister, who has been there and been supportive, but on a different level with the foundations and recognizing the value that she can bring. And her daughter Carolyn, who now is doing a lot of that and also running
Sure.
the soccer
team,
that they just
yeah.
bought.
Yeah.
But as a family, they're aligned, and the girls that are not in the business are comfortable with that. They attend
Sure.
board meetings, and they know what's going on.
Sure.
But they all are engaged in their own thing.
other
And,
things.
and the fact that it's a small family in numbers, I think, also is helpful. But Andy and Jack, the relationship, you get the father-son part, and that can be hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they manage through that
Sure.
in a way that the business was
Yeah.
always the thing that they knew to focus on, and the results have been amazing.
And of course, Chrissy gives Pam Nicholson a lot of credit, helping her bridge
Right, transition, right.
from her father to her.
Right.
Learned a lot from her, has become a very good friend. But go back to that customer service piece. You think, and this is before you guys had offices or kiosks at the airports, and yet you were able to overcome the competition and actually buy two of your competitors, Alamo and National. Is that, that whole customer service, we'll pick you up, is that what really maybe allowed you to out-hustle the competition, grab more market share? It sounds like that was really the main thrust of how you gotten to where you are. It's such an importance
Yeah, well,
on that.
Based on as the company continued to grow and the number of customers that wanted us, we were opening offices near airports, and we would pick them up
Right.
and bring them back. But it wasn't as convenient, and a lot of the airports started pushing back on that because if you were an airport rent-a-car company, the airport got a fee. So they didn't want the off-airport guys coming in. So we then began to open up on airports with the Enterprise brand and trying to deliver a better kind of service where the customer coming in and primarily focusing on our existing customer base that they knew now they could get us at the airport. The challenge was real estate at the airport is hard to get.
Sure, right.
Now, we, between Andy and me, and primarily Andy, we probably looked at all of our competitors more than once because of they all changed hands. At one point, Ford owned Hertz. Then there was a private equity group that owned them, and they changed.
So they were vulnerable.
Yes, and they were basically they were all public. At one point, they were all public. We were the only private rent-a-car company, so we could see the numbers. We knew it was there, but Andy in particular said, "Don, the balance sheet is. We want to make sure our balance sheet is strong enough that if we take one of these guys on, that if something doesn't go right." We're not
Sure.
And we had this program called management development where we'd bring young managers in and we'd give them M&A kind of experiences and we'd give them the competition and say, if we were going to buy one of these guys, who would we buy? So we learned from them what they
Sure.
saw as weaknesses and strengths. And I guess into 2 or 3 years, the Wall Street Journal runs an article that National and Alamo had just come out of bankruptcy. A private equity group called Cerberus was going to sell them. They were the ones that had bought them, took them through bankruptcy, and cleaned up all the losses they had. Dollar and Thrifty, headquartered out of Tulsa, when it was looking at buying them and getting ready to announce the purchase. So we called them and said, "Hey, if you're really serious about selling this, we'd like to take a look at it, and we won't jerk you around. We'll give you a number that we think is fair." But we need 30 days to do some diligence on this thing. And they said, absolutely, because we knew they had an electronic data center so that we could go in and look at the numbers really
Sure.
easily. And the big thing for us was the real estate.
Right.
We had about, at that time, we had probably 400,000 rent-a-cars. They had 200,000 rent-a-cars. So it was going to be taking on a pretty good chunk. And the goal was, we didn't want to lose one deal. Whatever we bought, we wanted to be able to keep it all.
Sure.
Knowing that there may be some people there that had used us and not liked us in the past for whatever reason, but it would give us airport presence. So we looked at that and saw that it was a good fit. Called and said, "We're ready to go." We buy National and Alamo, and J.D. Powers does a rent-a-car customer satisfaction survey every year. Right. Enterprise won it like 12 years in a row.
Wow.
And National and Alamo it was Hertz, Avis, Budget, National, Alamo, Thrifty, and Dollar, and Enterprise. There were 8 of us.
Yeah.
And National and Alamo were 6 and 7 or 7 and 8. They were good. Now part of it was they were in bankruptcy. The employees weren't happy. And it was a bad situation. We buy them, and they were very concerned because our company was let's go. What are we going to do? We focused on the customer. They had people that had spent their career writing rental-car tickets. And 25 years. That's all they did. And we tried to figure out a way to it. We had a meeting after we bought them. It was the first time they had ever been all together. And
Really?
we talked about the vision. Jack was there, and of course, turned on the charm. And Andy was there, talked about the business view, and the entire family. Chrissy and Andy's wife Barbara was there. Joanne was there.
Yeah.
Carolyn was there. We went out and talked. I mean, it was just it was wonderful.
Brilliant.
In the first year, it was the J.D. Power survey after we owned them, and we introduced the customer satisfaction program to them, and what our expectations were. Enterprise was number 1, National was number 2, and Alamo was number 3.
Right.
The next year, National was number 1, Enterprise was number 2, and so we took them from being, less than desirable to being one of the top. and they have continued to stay. Now, Enterprise once again took over the number one spot, but we have had 3 out of the top 4 spots for the last 10 years or more, and Enterprise has always been as strong as it, and it just doubled down on proving the program that was created back for Enterprise only, that, now can work in other places if you've got
Sure.
the right commitment and you've got the right leadership. That, we had an example that happened not purposely. We had an opening in a market, and we asked who might be interested. The manager of our office in Arizona was interested and was going to come in for an interview, and we saw that their numbers, their ESQI numbers, or their customer satisfaction number, dropped below the average. We called them and said, you're not eligible anymore because you've dropped below. And this is a really good guy.
Wow.
And because your group has dropped below, somehow you guys have, lost track of what's important here. So don't come. Did not say a word to anybody else, but like any company, the grapevine got
Yeah.
the word out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, everybody said, these guys really mean it. We know that he's strong. He's a strong manager.
Yeah.
And he eventually did get another opportunity.
Yeah.
But the fact that we said, don't come, because that's the deal.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And so but you've got to be committed to
Yeah.
who you are and what you believe.
Now, all 3 brands still operate,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. So Enterprise.
What's the thinking behind that? Instead of just swallowing them all up
So
and just
we-
go in Enterprise
Yeah, we hired.
all across the board.
We hired Bain. I think it was Bain. We hired somebody, a
consultant?
to come in, and because originally the thought process was when we made the offer was
Yeah.
that we were going. I figured we'd keep half of their cars, that we wouldn't keep all 200, that we'd only keep 100, and just roll it into Enterprise, and just those brands would go away.
Sure.
And the more we got into it, the more we recognized that there were different customers. Our customers, the length of rental was more 5 to 7 days. National's customers, it was more like 2 or 3 days, and it was usually the road warrior, the
Okay.
business traveler that
Right.
we really didn't appeal to as much at Enterprise.
Sure.
Alamo was more of a vacation,
Okay.
leisure travel,
All right.
people going to Disney. Their big locations were in Florida, Las Vegas, places in Mexico, Texas. So we said, and I give Pam a lot of credit for that. But this time she was running North America, and because I think she replaced me as president, and she may have been president then too. But anyhow, we said we're going to try keeping all 3, but if we're going to do that, we don't want to lose any business. We want to keep
Right.
all these deals, and we're going to have to do some things differently. So with the National, you don't have to come in and check in. You can just pick any car you want
Right.
that's in the categories. that
Sure.
and you just drive to the exit place. They look at your driver's license, and with technology, you're gone. So it may take you a minute or two. Now everybody's copied it because it was
Jump in
hard
the
to-
car and go.
But initially, we got the first mover benefit. The Enterprise business still stayed strong because there were people that wanted that hands-on feeling.
Yeah.
And Alamo became the online, and it was usually the female decision maker, the mom or the
Organizing the
vacation and stuff.
Yep.
And they would go, and Alamo would do different discounts and stuff like that. And so it worked out where they could stay in their swim lanes, and it's been amazing.
It just grew your
It just
business
kept-
in
we did-
different segments.
Yeah, we did not lose a deal. In fact,
Wow.
we increased a little bit initially, and then after that, I don't know what the percentage is now, but it's strong. The home city market, we've always dominated that, but now the airport market, and part of that I think also is Hertz has been a mess. They've had like 4 or 5 CEOs in the last 7 years. Avis decided to just stay at a certain number and get their pricing the way they wanted it, where they could generate a certain
Yeah.
profitability.
Yeah.
And I think that's working for them okay. Now, I don't know long term. It's a public company. Shareholders are going to see the shares go
Yeah,
up in value
yeah.
if they can continue to deliver that. Is good. But
Yeah.
for Enterprise, it's been amazing.
One last question, and we'll let you go.
Okay.
Would Enterprise ever entertain the idea of going public?
Yeah, I don't think so, but I think things change. Have we ever looked at it? Yes. But there's so, and even though a lot of the reporting we do is the same kind of reporting that public companies do, just because we want that discipline internally.
Sure.
Because it's the family owns it.
Yeah.
The family gets
It's
it.
worked.
Yeah, and it's a small.
Even though it's generation to generation, it's work.
The good
Again,
news-
if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
The good news is there were 2 in the second generation. There's 5 in the third generation. So it's not like it's unwieldy where other companies might have 50 in the third generation, and most of them are not in the business. They're relying on the value that the company provides them. So they may push for going public. That's not the case, and I don't see that as a problem going forward, because I think there's enough from Andy and Chrissy and Joanne and Carolyn delivering the message
Yeah.
to the rest of the family that we've got some, and we can do the right thing for the men and women that work for the company. I remember it's been several years ago. Warren Buffett was talking to Andy and Jack
Yeah,
about maybe,
yeah, maybe
making an
buying
investment
it.
in the or making an investment in the
Sure.
company. And one of the things he said is, I want to tell you right now, I would not mess with any of the stuff you've done for the employees
Yeah.
that are there, because I see the motivation they have, where
Yeah.
they feel ownership, they feel part of it, and
Yeah.
you all have that relationship with them there. You're not hiding behind
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
glass doors here. You're out there with them, going to meetings, and Chrissy is Jack was good, Andy was better, Chrissy is doing a great job,
Yeah.
and Carolyn too. Both
Very
of them.
charismatic.
Yeah,
very,
exactly. Both of them.
Yeah.
Then that third generation is
doing great, and all
yeah.
women.
Yeah.
A lot of women in these higher positions. Not only the girls who were the last CEOs, but in other higher up
Right.
positions. A lot
Exactly.
of women, which is awesome.
Exactly right.
And I'm sure the Taylor family has paid attention to the whole what happened with Anheuser-Busch, right? And it's kind of, it's kind of gone now, and they maybe have a toe in the water in St. Louis, and I think the families, the generation from generation, they've ran the company very well. It keeps growing, and they're a big part of the St. Louis community, and I think that's very important to them moving forward.
It started with Jack. Andy has increased. Andy and Joanne have increased that even more. I mean, there is
Yeah.
not much that happens in St. Louis where they aren't behind the scenes
Sure.
helping financially or providing other values that are needed. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Jack was amazing with that. I could tell you stories about
Yeah.
major gifts that he.
Forest Park Forever is one of them. I mean, it wasn't.
The symphony, the
I mean,
Powell Hall.
what they've done
Oh.
in conjunction with other corporate citizens with Forest Park is
Right.
just amazing.
Yep,
Amazing.
exactly. Yep.
Could have never have been done
Right. Without
without
that
a
back.
private
Yeah, and with,
investment.
Right.
No question
you're
about it.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, that's just one example.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
question.
Probably a lot of anonymous help around around town too.
Yeah,
So,
and they're not looking for pats on the back
Right,
or anything
no.
like that. They just want to do it because it's the right thing. And Jack loves St. Louis.
Yeah.
Jack loves, and so obviously they're all still here, so
That's right.
They are committed to St. Louis.
Don Ross, thank
been a
you
pleasure.
for doing this.
Thank you. My
Great
pleasure.
story.
All right,
Just a
thank
great
you.
story.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Good to be with you.
All right, you
That's
too.
just Oliva.
Yeah, Louisville. The Supper Club brought to you by
Kuna Food Service, a family-owned tradition since 1918. The Pasta House Company Restaurants. Lordo's Diamonds, your family jeweler for life.
Oliva on the Hill.
Barquette Realty, imagination, renovation, and design.
And Fresta Limoncello. Keep sipping, my friends.